What it do, peeps? It's the Beat Chef from Watch the Damn Tape. I just wanted to jump on here real quick. Semifinal preview, best of five, Indiana, Las Vegas Aces. Before I start, the VVS goated player of last game, that game three against Atlanta Dream, is the fan base. The Indiana Fever fan base gets the player of the game. There was no player in game three that just had a super spectacular write it down in the history of the league. Nobody had a game like that. But the fans, impact. This is one of the few teams in the league that really vibe with their fan base. Whether you're a Caitlin Clark fan, a Indiana Fever, and a Caitlin Clark fan, they feel the energy. That being said, every game, even though there wasn't sellouts, even in Atlanta, Fever fans took over the Dream Stadium. There was more cheers for Indiana Fever players than there was for the Dream. That was huge. That was a huge factor in mounting that comeback and getting that win. Best of five in this series. Aces, you got to understand, the Aces had to basically run the table in August just to make the playoffs. I believe they were in the ninth spot. They played the Fever three times this season, and uh, right before August, the Fever won on July 24th and won a pretty good game. Then the Fever had to make some changes. They lost a few games. They got shellacked by the Minnesota Lynx. They had to make a couple changes. Jewel Lloyd went to the bench. Asia Wilson made her statement, basically challenging the team and who wanted to be there. And they went on, won the 14 games, made it to the playoffs. They played the Storm the first round. Storm physical team. They barely survived that. You watched any of those games. First game, they were kind of dominant, but it was close. Second game, Asia Wilson turned to the Flip Wilson in the fourth quarter and was scared of Dominique Malonga, scared to go in that paint. Deferred, they lost. Third game was almost a repeat of game two. It went back and forth down the stretch, and they were ultimately able to squeak out with a win. Before that series, Becky Hammon had talked about the playoffs and the reason why it's a home, away, home, and how they changed the format. And she blamed Indiana. Well, the reason why she did that is because she was looking ahead. See, she's scared of the Fever, and rightfully so. She was praying Atlanta won that series. They match up better with Atlanta. The Dream are a better fit. And since the Dream didn't make it, she knows her worst nightmare is coming true playing the Fever, a team that you really haven't played. You got to understand, folks. They played on June. They played in June. They played early June. They played a couple games. They played three games this season, two two in Indiana and one in Las Vegas. The first game was in Las Vegas. They won 89-81. If you remember, that was around the same time DeWanna Bonner had left the team. This was also 4 games into Caitlin Clark coming back from the calf strain, the first injury she had. This was a game that had a second half collapse, just a total meltdown. Both teams were around the 500 mark at this time. That was huge. They were both pathetic. Hull was starting at this time. Second game was July 3rd. Fever won handedly, 81-54. Boston and Mitchell combined for 45 points in that game. Kia Stokes was starting at that time at power forward along with um, Asia Wilson. Jewel Lloyd was still starting at that time and was struggling to find her way. They had just acquired Melissa Smith from the Dallas Wings, and this was a butt whooping. This was one of those ones where Becky Hammon waved the poncho flag and just pulled the starters. They were getting demolished. The Fever were getting everything they wanted. That third game was July 24th. This was right before they had the epic butt whooping against the Minnesota Lynx, that 111-58 loss. At this time, they were Indiana was playing without Caitlin Clark. Now Sophie Cunningham was starting. Uh, this was a couple games after the All-Star break. The Fever won this game 80-70. Since then, a lot's changed. We know the Fever, a multitude of lineup changes, different places, different faces in different places, so on and so forth. Shea Petty, Aerial Powers, you name it, the Fever have had on the team. That presents a lot for a coach, and Becky Hammon is not a great coach, which means she's going to have to work. Since then, Jewel Lloyd's on the bench. Kirsten Bell is starting. Kirsten Bell's a if you were buying a hamburger and you were at McDonald's and you wanted a Big Mac, Kirsten Bell is a kid's meal. She a kid's meal. You get a little three and you get a little D. That's it, little toy. That's it. Averaging about 4 points. Her season highs were 18 and 19. And that was against the Dallas Wings, and that was really during this little stretch run that they had in August. In August, they really only had a few quality wins. All of them, the quality wins they had were against playoff teams. They beat Atlanta, they beat Phoenix, they beat New York, they beat Seattle. So they beat playoff teams in the stretch, but they had some Connecticut's, they had some Wings, they had some LA Sparks, they had some bottom feeder teams in that stretch run. They also beat the Valkyries as well during that stretch run. They got size on the bench. They don't really have a lot of guards, but they got a lot of forwards. Primarily Gufferson, Kia Stokes, and uh, Tynus Parker, who just came back from pregnancy leave. All of them 6'4", but they're guard deficient, which means up and down tempo is going to be, you're gonna see a lot of up and down in this game, and the Aces don't have the horses to really run a full game with the Fever, and that's what Becky Hammon is worried about. Wouldn't doubt if they try to slow this game down. If the Fever can get, they got to get one or two. That first game in LA, or second, I mean in Vegas, or that second game, I come out and try to punch them in the mouth. To me, you're not going to stop A'ja Wilson. The games in which they won, A'ja Wilson scored 20 in every one of those games. But they locked everybody else up. Poor shooting. Jackie Young, poor shooting. Kelsey Gray, poor shooting. Jewel Lloyd, poor shooting. Aaliyah Nye, you name it. The only difference in this time is they have Melissa Smith. Melissa Smith is playing a little better than what she played with the Fever and with the Wings, playing alongside A'ja Wilson. But she's got to play Natasha Howard. This is where Natasha Howard really needs to come to life and really make Melissa Smith work and get into that bench depth on the Aces. You need to see some of them bench people try to step up. Kia Stokes, a non-factor on offense. So if any other players, the guards, if the Shea Pettys, the Aerial Powers can muster some offense, Dantas should be coming back from the concussion, hopefully, just to give them some size and presence and the ability to stretch the field stretch the court with the three will be huge in this game. Vegas shoots a lot of threes as well, but it's going to come down to whose bench, and the Fever have the better bench. They're going to run their starters heavy. Jackie Young's going to have to play both sides of the court. Either she's going to have to pick up Kelsey Mitchell, who's a nightmare, or Bell's going to have to guard Kelsey Mitchell, which is a nightmare, which means Bell will be a non factor on offense. It'll be really playing 4-on-5, especially with Bree Turner playing now, giving them minutes, giving them somebody with some size, which is going to be huge. I see it going 5 games, but I see Indiana making it to the finals. This was a dream matchup for the Fever, especially with the Aces coming out of that tough series. It was a tough series with Seattle. I see Indiana getting it. I see Indiana having the better guards, even with the trio of Chelsea Gray, Jewel Lloyd, and Jackie Young. Jackie Young's their young gun that's a guard. Chelsea Gray is not the Chelsea Gray that was in Unrivaled. Not a high assist person, not a high scorer. Hit and miss when it comes to shooting. I see Lexi Hull having a great series and being able to actually defend multiple people on this team, being able to cover a Jewel Lloyd, being able to cover a Chelsea Gray, being able to cover a Jackie Young, and give Kelsey Mitchell an opportunity to not spell herself on defense, but allowing uh, Kelsey Mitchell to cook on offense. And I think in this series, Kelsey Mitchell will cook. She's cooked in every game in the series between the Aces and the Fever during the regular season. I don't see that changing any. And especially having a guard like Odyssey Sims who can penetrate. Every step they've had Caitlin Clark that gave them problems. They had Irie McDonald who gave them problems in the games that she played. And now you have Odyssey Sims, who is a veteran who they've played a bunch of. And they know a bunch on her because she was with the Sparks. A difference maker. If they can hit shots, if they can push tempo. Third, if Aaliyah Boston does not get scared of her fellow alum and her big sister Asia Wilson, and she says, "F it, I'm going Red Hulk." This gonna be one of those ones you write about and say, "Wow, I can't believe they did the impossible." Because right now they're already proving most people wrong by as far as they've got. But I see them taking it to the Aces in 5 games. But I see them getting. I wouldn't be surprised if they get the first game the first night. The first night. If they can do that, they can win this. They can win this series. The Aces are not. They're not. They're not that intimidating. They have the greatest center playing basketball, and everything is funneled through her. If you watch any of their games, a lot of times it's just watch Asia cook and we just stand around. And if she misses a shot and you get that rebound and you get in transition and you run, they don't want those problems. Let me know what you guys think. Leave your comments below. Like, share, and subscribe. And until next time.